Have you This is the record of the descendants of Adam. When God created man, he made him in the likeness of God. He created them male and female. When they were created, he blessed them and named them man. Adam was 130 years old when he begot a son in his likeness, after his image, and he named him Seth. Adam lived 800 years after the birth of Seth, and he had other sons and daughters. The whole lifetime of Adam was 930 years. Then he died. When Seth was 105 years old, he became the father of Enosh. Seth lived 807 years after the birth of Enosh, and he had other sons and daughters. The whole lifetime of Seth was 912 years. Then he died. When Enosh was 90 years old, he became the father of Kenan. Enosh lived 815 years after the birth of Kenan, and he had other sons and daughters. The whole lifetime of Enosh was 905 years. Then he died. When Kenan was 70 years old, he became the father of Mahalalel. Kenan lived 840 years after the birth of Mahalalel, and he had other sons and daughters. The whole lifetime of Kenan was 910 years. Then he died. When Mahalalel was 65 years old, he became the father of Jared. Mahalalel lived 830 years after the birth of Jared, and he had other sons and daughters. The whole lifetime of Mahalalel was 895 years. Then he died. When Jared was 162 years old, he became the father of Enoch. Jared lived 800 years after the birth of Enoch, and he had other sons and daughters. The whole lifetime of Jared was 962 years. Then he died. When Enoch was 65 years old, he became the father of Methuselah. Enoch lived 300 years after the birth of Methuselah, and he had other sons and daughters. The whole lifetime of Enoch was 365 years. Then Enoch walked with God, and he was no longer here, for God took him. When Methuselah was 187 years old, he became the father of Lamech. Methuselah lived 782 years after the birth of Lamech, and he had other sons and daughters. The whole lifetime of Methuselah was 969 years. Then he died. When Lamech was 182 years old, he begot a son and named him Noah, saying, "Out of the very ground that the Lord has put under curse, this one shall bring us relief from our work and the toil of our hands." Lamech lived 595 years after the birth of Noah, and he had other sons and daughters. The whole lifetime of Lamech was 777 years. Then he died. When Noah was 500 years old, he became the father of Shem, Ham, and Japheth. When men began to multiply on earth and daughters were born to them, the sons of heaven saw how beautiful the daughters of man were, and so they took for their wives as many of them as they chose. Then the Lord said, "My spirit shall not remain in man forever, since he is but flesh. His days shall comprise 120 years. At that time the Nephilim appeared on earth, as well as later, after the sons of heaven had intercourse with the daughters of man, who bore them sons. They were the heroes of old, the men of renown. When the Lord saw how great was man's wickedness on earth, and how no desire that his heart conceived was ever anything but evil, he regretted that he had made man on the earth, and his heart was grieved. So the Lord said, I will wipe out from the earth the men whom I have created, and not only the men, but also the beasts and the creeping things and the birds of the air, for I am sorry that I made them. But Noah found favor with the Lord. These are the descendants of Noah. Noah, a good man and blameless in that age, for he walked with God, begot 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. In the eyes of God, the earth was corrupt and full of lawlessness. When God saw how corrupt the earth had become, since all mortals led depraved lives on earth, he said to Noah, I have decided to put an end to all mortals on earth. The earth is full of lawlessness because of them. So I will destroy them and all life on earth. Make yourself an ark of gopher wood, put various compartments in it, and cover it inside and out with pitch. This is how you shall build it. The length of the ark shall be 300 cubits, its width 50 cubits, and its height 30 cubits. Make an opening for daylight in the ark, and finish the ark a cubit above it. Put an entrance in the side of the ark, which you shall make with bottom, second, and third decks. I, on my part, am about to bring the flood, waters, on the earth, to destroy everywhere all creatures in which there is the breath of life. Everything on earth shall perish. But with you I will establish my covenant. You and your sons, your wife, and your sons' wives shall go into the ark. Of all other living creatures you shall bring 2 into the ark, 1 male and 1 female, that you may keep them alive with you. Of all kinds of birds, of all kinds of beasts, and of all kinds of creeping things, 2 of each shall come into the ark with you, to stay alive. Moreover, you are to provide yourself with all the food that is to be eaten, and store it away, that it may serve as provisions for you and for them. This Noah did. He carried out all the commands that God gave him. Praise the Lord, who is so good. God's love endures forever. Praise the God of gods. God's love endures forever. Praise the Lord of lords. God's love endures forever. Who alone has done great wonders. God's love endures forever. Who skillfully made the heavens. God's love endures forever. Who spread the earth upon the waters. God's love endures forever. Who made the great lights. God's love endures forever. The sun to rule the day. God's love endures forever. The moon and stars to rule the night. God's love endures forever. Who struck down the firstborn of Egypt. God's love endures forever. And led Israel from their midst. God's love endures forever. With mighty hand and outstretched arm, God's love endures forever. Who split in 2 the Red Sea. God's love endures forever. And led Israel through. God's love endures forever. But swept Pharaoh and his army into the Red Sea. God's love endures forever. Who led the people through the desert. God's love endures forever. Who struck down great kings. God's love endures forever. Slew powerful kings. God's love endures forever. Sihon, king of the Amorites. God's love endures forever. Og, king of Bashan. God's love endures forever. And made their lands a heritage. God's love endures forever. A heritage for Israel, God's servant. God's love endures forever. The Lord remembered us in our misery. God's love endures forever. Freed us from our foes. God's love endures forever. And gives food to all flesh. God's love endures forever. Praise the God of heaven. God's love endures forever.